Hi, finally I'm going to do this ranking video that I've mentioned probably only like twice, three times maybe at most, I don't know. But yeah, I'm going to rank every Nickelodeon movie ever. And and all I've been wanting to do this. I've since Good Burger 2 was going to come out, but I thought I'm not going to do this until I see literally all the movies cuz there's still I saw almost all of them at that point, but I still wanted to see everyone just to, have a full ranking so I don't have many comments saying I forgot a certain movie. And yeah, this I'm reviewing ranking all of them from Harriet the Spy all the way to Good Burger 2. And just to be clear, this is only the ones released by Nickelodeon Movies. None of the made for TV stuff, like none of that, and most of those were even just TV show episodes anyway, just longer. So don't go in the comments saying, I forgot the first Monster High or Jimmy Timmy Power. Those are not released by Nickelodeon Movies. I'm ranking all the ones. If they're not listed on the Wikipedia page, then they don't count. So just get away. And I'm also not including Under the Boardwalk because that technically wasn't a Nickelodeon movie. I mean, the trailer said it was, but the movie, for some reason, wasn't. So maybe the trailer just had errors. So I'm not counting that as a Nickelodeon movie, and I haven't seen Under the Boardwalk yet. I mean, it looked okay, but so yeah, I'm ranking all of them. So, and this is going to be a two-parter because this video would be like 2 hours long if I did it all in one sitting. So here we go. Coming at last place is a movie I haven't seen in a really long time, and the last time I saw it was before I actually even saw the show, The Last Airbender. I think that everybody would agree they would put this in last place, but mostly the reason I put this in last place is because I haven't seen it for many, 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 many years. So I really have no thoughts. And given I given the last time I saw it was before I even watched the show, I kind of feel I don't want to revisit it because Avatar is not a show you can retell in one movie because Avatar is a show that you can't watch out of order. You have to watch it the whole way through because it's one big story, and unless it was somehow like going to be a trilogy, which I think it was, Avatar is really not the kind of story to do in a movie. So yeah, I really don't want to I'm really not considering revisiting this one anytime soon because I feel I'm just going to be really underwhelmed. I mean, it's only like an hour and 40 something minutes, and it's based on a full season of a TV show. So, yeah, that's probably a recipe for failure. So, yeah, Last Airbender, I have no real thoughts on it. I just put it in last place because I don't have really anything to say about it. So, at 46th place is Paw Patrol the movie. Yes, I seriously saw this. I mean, as I said, I've seen all these movies, and this movie is, you know, I really hate talking about this movie because I can't hate it. Like, I can't hate because it's clearly aimed for little kids. I mean, I know you're saying, but lots of these other movies are for kids. Well, yeah, but they're for kids, like kids of all demographics, families. Like, the rest of the movies I'm going to talk about, like, they're family movies. This is clearly just for little kids. And for what it is, it's fine. I guess that's what I could say. Like, it has a plot. The animation's good. There's a few creative, interesting scenes. I guess I don't know. This movie was just uninteresting. Like I do give it points for it trying to feel like a movie rather than an extended episode of a Nick Jr. show, but it just wasn't really that interesting. In fact, it's only like 80 minutes and yet it felt like 2 hours. Like it was just not very interesting. Like I wasn't really I was kind of bored because really other unless you're like really young, like maybe 6 or under, there's really nothing in this movie to enjoy. So I mean, if you like this movie and you're older than the target audience, then I mean, I'm not gonna hate on you. It's just I really don't really get didn't get the appeal of this. I mean, maybe if I was way younger, like maybe if this came out when I was like 3 or 4, I probably would have liked it. But it's just a very nothing movie. So yeah, Paw Patrol the movie. I really got nothing to say about this. It's a nothing movie. That's really all I could say. Like it gets its job done for little kids, but it's just a nothing movie. And next place is Monster Trucks. I'm probably one of the maybe 5 people in the world that actually went to see this when it came out in theaters, and it's average. That's really all I could say. It's average. It's not great. It's not super bad. It was average. Like, the biggest problem I have with this movie is that it's kind of boring. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say a like. What about you said Paw Patrol the movie was it? Well, Paw Patrol the movie like it's for young kids. I can give it some slack. This is more meant for families like of different age groups, and it has some moments of creativity and some you know entertainment value, but for the most part, it's really bland. Like it's another typical kid befriends it. Well, I guess the main character is not a kid. He's like college aged. He finds an oil eating monster, and he decides to keep it in his truck as an engine. And I mean, that sounds like a neat idea for like a cartoon or something, but for like a full movie and really nothing happens. Like they really blew the budget on all the effects. And the effects are really good actually. Like the squid monsters, they actually look amazing, but the budget for this movie was really high, and that's probably the reason why it was because of the CGI. And it's just not exciting. Like, really, nothing really happens. There's no real action or anything, or there's really nothing, and it's not a very nice movie to look at. Mostly, it's just gray skies and dirt roads. And I mean, I'm not one of those stupid critics who think movies need oversaturated bright colors to be good. It's just that it's not very it's just bland to look at. Like you see just like I said, dirt roads, just some trees, gray skies. I mean, if you're gonna make a movie look dreary, at least be creative. At least some of Nickelodeon's darker movies like Spiderwick Chronicles and Lemony Snicket's, we'll get to that later. At least they're stylistically dark. Like at least they're bleak in like a appealing way. This was just not appealing. It was and the story was just bland as bland kids movies can get. And I mean, I haven't seen it since theaters, so I guess maybe I was just a little too harsh on it. But I don't know if this is really a movie I'd want to check out again because I remember it just being a middle of the road movie. So yeah. The next movie is the first Nickelodeon movie, actually, Harriet the Spy. I never realized this until I got older and rewatched this movie, but Harriet is really unlikable. That really does bring down the movie a lot. The main character in this movie is super unlikable. I mean, I don't know how I never caught that as a kid, but yeah, like the whole plot is that Harriet is a spy, and which means she literally spies and stalks children, writes mean comments in a notebook, and then a bunch of kids and even her friends find out and they turn against her. And we're supposed to feel bad for Harriet. Like, really? Because I think she kind of deserved it. I mean, I know what you're saying. She's just a kid. I get it. Yeah, I know. Kids can sometimes be jerks. I know. I wasn't even really that much of a saint when I was a kid. But the problem is that this movie wants to make you root for her, and she really does nothing. Like, Harriet doesn't really have any good redeemable qualities about her. I mean, I guess in all fairness, she does learn her lesson at the end. So that does make this movie a little better than it should be. So I guess I'll give it credit because it actually has a good resolution. But overall, yeah, it's pretty unlikable. Harriet's a pretty unlikable character. The movie's never really consistent about who you want to root for, and it's it has a very counterproductive message. Like it just shows it in that kind of way. I mean, the kids all did good. Like Michelle Trachtenberg, who was in another Nickelodeon was in a Nickelodeon show before this, The Adventures of Pete and Pete. And I think she did really good, actually. The problem is that she just plays an unlikable character. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell, she's fine. She's plays a Harriet's nanny, and like they have a lot of good scenes together. The movie's just, it just could have been better. Like, it's an okay movie, but for their first attempt, I think they really could have done better and more with it. So, yeah, Harriet the Spy, not a bad first attempt at a movie from Nickelodeon, but surely isn't one of their best attempts. Next is The J Team. This movie's just fluff. That's really all I can say. It's harmless. It's harmless and cute. It's it really feels like a Disney Channel movie or one of those, direct to DVD American Girl movies. Like, those movies? That's what the J Team is. It's about a girl who goes to a dance class and her new teacher is very strict and she tries to tell all the kids to prove her wrong and that they can dance however they want. But it's cute for kids, I guess. That's really all I could say. There's nothing in it that engaging. I mean, the songs are cute. The the message. I mean, unlike Harriet the Spy, the messages are pretty straightforward, and the characters aren't really unlikable. So it has that, and this was a Paramount Plus original movie, and it's not even on there anymore. I think it was just for tax purposes. But yeah, you can pretty much tell this wasn't meant for the big screen. It was totally meant for the small screen. And like, it's fine, it's cute, it's just not a movie I'd watch again. It was just kind of, it's harmless. Like, you can put it on for kids, they'll enjoy it, but adults, they really won't see it as anything. Just harmless, cute, disposable fun. That's really all it is. Like, it's fluff, not fun. This movie isn't fun per se. It's just, it's harmless. Well, so yeah, the J Team, that's really all I could say about it. It's just it's okay for what it is. I guess that's all I can say. Next is the sequel to the movie I previously talked about, Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie. Yeah, I had to see this one for the ranking. And I'm going to be totally brutally honest. This movie was okay. Not average and mid like the first movie was. This movie was genuinely okay. Like, it was almost good. Like, this was actually better, like a lot better than the first one. That doesn't mean it's great, though. It's not a great movie. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but it was okay. The plot was more interesting. I mean, like, like I said, I can't be too harsh on the first one because it's for young kids, but the second one at least had an interesting plot. A meteor crashes, the dogs get superpowers, and you get of course, some goofy physical comedy, and the plot was somewhat interesting at least, and like they gotta stop this villain scientist played by Taraji P. Henson from like obtaining these crystals that give them superpowers. And yeah, like, I guess for a superhero movie for little kids, it's okay. I mean, Taraji P. Henson, the villain who was voiced by Taraji P. Henson, was kind of funny. The animation is still really good. The pacing's a lot better, and it's cute. Like, I think it's slightly above average. That's all I could say. I mean, this, like, I'm glad I waited for streaming, because if I saw this in theaters, like, I mean, I wouldn't regret it, but this isn't the kind of movie I'd see in a theater, because I didn't like it enough. But you know what? I thought this movie was going to be on par with the first movie, because the first Paw Patrol was just, like, it was just for kids and nothing else. This one at least tried to feel more like a movie, even more than the first one did. So, yeah, like, I didn't exactly like Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie, but I mean, I guess I kind of did. It was just okay, but that's really all I could say. So, yeah, Paw Patrol the Mighty Movie actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting. It actually was kind of semi okay. So, I guess I got that. So, I guess it's not always a bad thing if you're more positive to a movie than you're expecting. So yeah, Paw Patrol the movie, like you don't even need to see the first one. It's like this is probably if you are really desperate to watch a Paw Patrol movie, I'd say just skip the first and just maybe watch this if you're bored. All right, at 41st place is Blue's Big City Adventure. Yeah, again, this is a movie for really little kids, I know, but I kind of found it interesting. I did grow, and no, it's not because of nostalgia. Like I did grow up with Blue's Clues when I was a kid. Like I definitely watched the show. I mean, I haven't seen it in like even way more than a decade. Like I haven't seen it in a super long time. So a movie like this is kind of interesting. It's based on some new reboot I obviously haven't seen, but you know what? I do really give this movie credit that it really tried to appeal to Blues Clues fans, like new ones, and also adults who grew up with the show. And that seems really hard to do. I mean, if it was just a straight up movie for little kids, like it wouldn't be bad. But they tried way harder than they needed to. It was really nice to see Steve back because given I haven't seen Blues Clues in an extremely long time, it was nice seeing Steve again. Like that feeling of him talking to the camera. I was like, oh wow, that's something I haven't heard in like an extremely long time. So it was kind of cool. And you see the other guy, what was his name? Not Jim, Joe. Yeah, you see him too. But I mean, he was fine too. I liked him as a kid, fine too. But Steve was the OG. And like it tries to be a Blue's Clues episode, but still kind of have enough material for a movie. I mean, it's about them going to New York, something you wouldn't expect on the show. So I do give it props for trying to feel like a movie, like the Paw Patrol movies. Like they try to have plots that kind of feel different from the show, but I mean, then again, I never saw the Paw Patrol show, obviously, because I was 12 when it came out. But it was cute. Yeah, if you're weirdly curious about this movie and you're way past the target audience and you're someone who grew up with Blue's Clues, this isn't a bad movie to check out actually. It was cute. It was good nostalgic fun. Like nothing nowhere near great, but you know what, for what it was, it actually wasn't bad. So, yeah. And in 40th place is Monster High 2. Yeah, as I said in the beginning, I'm not including the first one because the first one wasn't from Nickelodeon Movies, but yeah, I did review this movie last month along with the first, and this movie was quite good. Like, I actually was surprised the Monster High movies were good. Like, obviously, because I never played with dolls because I was a boy. I didn't grow up with Monster High. I mean, grow up. Well, technically, I was like 10 when the dolls came out, but this movie was pretty good. The makeup's amazing. The plot was kind of interesting. Like, and for a lower budget small screen release, given this was a streaming movie, lots of it really did have effort put into it. So I really give it props for that. And I did really like how it looked. The story was unique. Like there's some cute little monster type jokes like the first, and it was fun. Like I actually weirdly enough quite enjoyed it. It had some fun musical numbers. The characters were unique, and it was overall a cute film. Like obviously I get why this wasn't on the big screen because this really just felt like a Nickelodeon sitcom, just an extended episode, but it was interesting and creative enough for me to like. So yeah, the Monster High movies, like if you haven't seen them, and if you're really desperate to watch something, I'd say give them a watch. They're actually not bad. So yeah. Next place is Dora and the Lost City of Gold. Oh man, I thought this movie was gonna be a disaster when it was announced. I mean, a live action Dora the Explorer movie like that can't work, but the movie was okay. I did grow up with Dora. Like watched it when I was a really little kid. I mean, I haven't seen it in forever, obviously, but you know what? This movie was better than it could have been. Like, it really kind of felt more like a parody of Dora than an actual Dora movie. And that's kind of the reason why I did genuinely kind of like it, was because it basically felt like it. it kind of weirdly enough kind of felt like a skit on like All That or something, or another Nickelodeon show or something, where it parodies a little kid show where like it really felt like a parody but in the best way possible. Isabella Moner plays Dora, and she was perfect for this role. Like Isabella Moner is one of those actors where like she's the best thing in everything she's in. Like even in Transformers: The Last Night, she was she at least tried. She really does work the best, and she was funny in Instant Family, and she was in some other stuff. Like I do think she really nailed this role of Dora. Like she nails the energetic personality and the chipper expressions, and sometimes they make fun of her talking to the audience. Like she really nails an older Dora. Like I think she waited her whole life to play Dora, and I think her waiting paid off, because, or maybe she's just gifted that way, because I thought she really did well. And some of the effects actually aren't bad for a smaller budget movie. Like you see Boots and Swiper, and the CGI on them doesn't look bad. I mean, okay, they're not great, not to the extent of a lot of blockbusters, but for like a smaller budget kids movie, they actually didn't look bad. So yeah, this movie was way better than I expected. It was kind of funny in some ways. Like I said, it tried to feel like a movie, not an episode of Dora. I mean, it's about her going through a bunch of like caves and tombs and trying to find gold. Like that sounds more like a parody of Dora, and that's exactly what made this movie enjoyable. It wasn't like a full-on Dora movie. It was more like a movie that made fun of the show, and that's really what made it fun. So yeah, it was actually kind of okay. So yeah, Dora was in the Lost City of Gold. It could have been a disaster, but they really did the best they could with it. At next place is Zoe 102, the the sequel movie to the series Zoe 101. And this movie was good. It was pretty much just a rom-com, and that's really but as a reunion goes, it's pretty good. I think it was really nice to see all these characters again, and the plot's really nothing special. It's just about, Zoe realizes that she doesn't have a boyfriend, and when she's going to Logan and Quinn's wedding, and then all of a sudden, everything starts to go haywire. But it's basically like a W Network movie, but with Nickelodeon characters. But it's okay for what it is. Like I thought it was cute. It was good seeing these characters all again, and the cast really has great chemistry with each other. I mean, Victoria Justice didn't return, but they got a good amount of people, and I think it was really cool seeing everybody. And you can tell that they actually do like each other, despite that it's a show that they've outgrown their roles in. So it was nice seeing them, have fun with each other. So yeah, the movie itself pretty formulaic, but for a reunion movie, it was sweet. Like I really thought it was genuinely pretty good. At next place is Fantasy Football. A pretty cute film, actually. It's very much just an ad for NFL games, but it kind of does make it a bit entertaining by having an over-the-top concept of a girl using the game to control her dad, who's a football player. Like, and it's very goofy. It very much feels like a Nickelodeon sitcom. Like, it's very over-the-top. It's basically like a live-action cartoon in some ways. So that did make it pretty fun. And the main girl, she apparently was one of the dogs in the Paw Patrol movies, and she actually seems like quite a good actress, and she actually did have a cameo in Good Burger too, so she should do more stuff with Nickelodeon, I guess, because she really has a knack for comedy, and she really seems to be happy with these projects, so it's nice to see her, be a frequent collaborator. So I think her name is Marcy Martin. Marcy Martin, I think that's her name. Yeah, she was a likable lead. I think she's a good, new Nickelodeon kid. I don't know if she's in a show, but I don't know. Maybe she might join one. I don't know. And sometimes there's a bit of a kind of over the top goofy humor, like the big butt joke, like how like the girl adjusts like the settings on her character. Like, yeah, it's got some stupid humor, but it's a kids comedy. Of course, it's gonna have that. So yeah, fantasy football. I mean, it's not on Paramount Plus anymore because tax write-offs. Yeah, Paramount and Nickelodeon have really been terrible with how they've been releasing movies and their shows lately, but hopefully they can get something sorted out. But I guess if you're really desperate to watch it, and if I guess the only way is to rent it, so if you have the time and really want to spend your money on a rental, it's an okay one to watch. It's cute and kids will like it. So yeah, fantasy football, for what it is, it was pretty good. It definitely felt like an old school Nickelodeon movie. It definitely had that 2000s vibe to it. So that's honestly one of the reasons why I did really enjoy it. Because I really liked the vibe it had. At number 36 is technically a Nickelodeon movie, even though they didn't outright make it. And you would probably be surprised that this is higher. Movie might be higher on the list than you'd expect. Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank. You know what? To be honest, I think after having to witness that Big Nate short that played before the movie, I think my grade for the movie boosted a little because that short. Oh my god! Oh my god! That Big Nate short. Oh, I mean, I like the Big Nate show, but that short was just weird. Like, it was super weird. But this movie, it's good. Like, I think it's okay. I for a movie that was for an independent movie that was in development hell for so many years, I think it paid off adequately. The animation is pretty good. It's not like Pixar quality or DreamWorks, but I think it's on par with like an Illumination movie where despite the low budget, it looks really good with what they were given. And like you can see like all the texture on the fur and such, and even like lots of the backgrounds, like you see cherry blossom trees and lots of the fire effects and water effects even look good because water and fire, that's really hard to do in animation. Um, and the movie is kind of funny. There's some good jokes. The jokes are kind of hit and miss. Like there isn't really that many toilet. There's not much toilet humor. Like there's maybe like two fart jokes in the whole movie, which by kids movie standards, two fart jokes is like what is zero. So, and there's like maybe like two poo jokes, and that's really it. Most of it's just meta humor because it's a remake of Blazing Saddles, and I think that's part of the reason this movie was made, just to shut up people who say Blazing Saddles would never get made today. And the characters are bland, yet kind of, moderately entertaining. Hank isn't really an interesting character. He's just the runt of the litter, and he's just a dog in a bad community who always gets picked on, and he wants to be a hero, and that's really it. Um, Samuel L. Jackson's character Jimbo is probably the only character in the movie I genuinely enjoyed, and I think a lot of that was because of Samuel L. Jackson's performance. I love how Samuel L. Jackson just plays himself in every movie, and even as a cat, like he's this fat, out of shape samurai cat who's an alcoholic because he drinks catnip. Like he was great in the role. Like I think if it wasn't for Samuel Jackson, I think this movie probably would have been a little lower, but he was great in the role. And most of the characters are just forgettable. Like there's this short, stubby cat played by Gabriel Iglesias, and he really does nothing. There's like a joke where, like a slapstick joke where he grabs a bunch of fireworks and they go all over the place, and that's kind of all he does. There's this other tall cat who's voiced by the guy who played the guy who owned the pizza shop in Spider-Man 2, and he does nothing. Michelle Yeoh plays a cat, and she has maybe three lines and does nothing. So yeah, lots of the characters are just forgettable. And the climax does drag a little bit, but it was entertaining. Like I think the one thing about this movie that kept it entertaining was the fact that I was seeing a movie that almost never came out. So that did make the experience more interesting. And The music in this movie is incredible. Like, okay, I know I've been saying this movie's just okay. Like, the characters are okay, animation's okay. Like, I know I've been saying everything's okay, but no, the music in this movie is very good. Bear McCreary does the score, who does the score for The Walking Dead, and the score's amazing. Like, listen to the opening song Blazing Samurai and tell me that is not fire. Like, it's great. Like, it slaps hard, and like even lots of the score is really good. Like, the music is amazing. Like, it's way too good even for this movie. Like, for just an okay movie, the music and score was incredible. Like, I think that was probably the best thing about the movie. It really had a good soundtrack and score. So, but the movie itself is fine. It's not terrible. Like, it's not annoying. It's, if anything, it's just bland and kind of, yeah, it's just bland. It's just a kind of a bland movie, just with some funny moments and good animation. So yeah, Paws of Fury. It's, while it's technically not a Nickelodeon movie, I mean, it does have the feel of one. It doesn't feel like, a low budget cheap film, despite being an independent movie. It actually did kind of feel like, it kind of did feel like an episode of a Nickelodeon cartoon. So I guess there's that. So in next place is a movie I really don't have much to say about, Mad Hot Ballroom. This is a documentary, actually, the first of the only documentary Nickelodeon made, and I don't really know why Nickelodeon decided to make this, because it's really not a movie that would interest kids. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. I know kids. There's some kids who like taking dance classes and stuff like that, but I'm talking like a good majority of kids. Like, do you think most people that watch Nickelodeon would want to see a documentary about ballroom dancing? I mean, like, it's good. Like, it's good. Like, I like I like how the kids like learn a bunch of different dances. There's the kids are the classes are also very diverse. You get all a bunch of kids of all different genders and backgrounds and whatnot, and it was neat to see everyone get their chance to shine. But the movie is just, there's really nothing to say about it, but like, it's inspiring if you're a kid and you like dancing, it's it's kind of neat to see some kids try something new. But there's really nothing much to the movie other than that it's just a neat documentary about kids trying a new dances and a new class, and that's really kind of it. So I got nothing to say about this movie, really, although I pretty much did. But yeah, Mad Dog Ballroom is a movie that I really can't talk about. I mean, I'll give a lot of the other movies I've said credit. At least I can talk about them. This, I really got nothing. In 34th place is A Really Haunted Loud House. Yeah, I did review this movie around Halloween, and it was fun. I've only seen one episode of The Really Loud House, as I've said, and it was. I wish I could unwatch that, but the movie itself, it was good. It's very much like a live action cartoon. I don't really know what's even the point of making a live action Loud House. Like, kids watch the regular cartoon anyway. Why would they want to see a live action one? Like, I don't mean to emphasize the stereotype that cartoons are just for kids, but if you would ask most kids, would you rather watch the cartoon Loud House or the live action Loud House sitcom? They'd want to choose the cartoon because it's, more appealing. But for what it was good. Like, there's some, cute visual jokes that try to be cartoony. The characters don't feel out of character. They actually do act like how they do in the cartoon. And it was nice to see Nickelodeon do a Halloween movie. I mean, they did Fun Size, which I will get to soon. So, yeah, the movie, it was pretty good. It's a good film to get in the Halloween spirit. And as a Loud House fan, I quite liked it. Next, in 33rd place, is Angus Thongs and Perfect Snogging. I don't really know if Nickelodeon actually flat out made this, because this is a British movie, but it's good. Like, I think it's likable. It's pretty funny. It's got some cute British humor. I always love British humor. Like, I don't know why, but British humor, it's always good. Like, they're always quirky and silly, and that's pretty much what this, because it's a teen rom com, and I know I'm not a big rom com guy, but I do like a good amount of teen movies, so it was kind of cute seeing a British take on them. So, and like it's fun. There's some like cute, silly humor. It's definitely more for teenagers than it is for kids, and I do like that Nickelodeon tried to make a movie that was more for their older fans, such as given I'm an older fan myself. So I really liked that they kind of went the extra mile like they did with another movie that I'll get to later. So yeah, Angus Thongs with Perfect Snogging. I don't know if it's. I first saw it on Netflix when I was traveling once. I don't know if it's on Netflix anywhere else or if it's on Paramount Plus or what, but it's a good movie, and I think it's definitely one of Nickelodeon's most underrated films because really no Nickelodeon fan talks about it, but I think it's good. Aaron Taylor Johnson's even in the movie. This was before he was in so much stuff like Kick Ass and Avengers and Bullet Train. He's going to be Craven the Hunter pretty soon. So it was good to see Aaron, one of Aaron's earlier roles. It's always neat to see, an actor from before they were big. So yeah, Angus Thong's Perfect Snogging. It's a pretty good movie. And in next place is Snow Day, not the original, the remake. And this movie was kind of interesting. It does not top the first one though, but for what it is, I kind of liked it. The production values, yeah, they were kind of low, but again, it was a made for streaming movie, so and it was interesting to see Snow Day, but as a musical, like you could tell all the kids were having fun. The musical numbers were all fun. Like they're very choreographed well, and you can tell that they at least had put some effort into it. They didn't just, shoot a bunch of kids like acting spastic and calling it dancing and say, boom, it's a musical. It was okay. I mean, I don't know if Snow Day was really the kind of movie that would have had enough material for a sequel. But then again, I guess I've heard worse ideas, and they really did pull it off, although Jerry Trainer is no Chris Elliott. I mean, Jerry Trainer was okay as the Snowplow Man, but I'm sorry, Chris Elliott was perfect in that role, and I really don't think anyone could have done it better. So, yeah, the Snow Day remake, it was fun, I guess. That's really it. Yeah. So yeah, uh, the Snow Day remake, it's pretty good. And 31st place, the Loud House movie. As a Loud House fan, I thought this was pretty good. I haven't seen every episode of the show, but this wasn't hard to follow. It's very straightforward. The Loud family goes to Scotland to find out more about their family, specifically about their dad's side, and of course they find out that somebody is heir to the throne who's going to be king of Scotland, and of course there's an evil old hag who wants to take over, and yeah, it's pretty much a standard uh, royalty story. But for what it is, it's good. I liked seeing the Loud family in a different location that wasn't. Um, Where do they live? Is it called Elwood? No, no, Elmore. Whatever the place is called. Like it was cool seeing Scotland. Like I've never been to Scotland, but my dad has though. But it was really cool seeing a different setting for the Louds to be in, and you do get some creative uh, aspects to the world. Like there's even a dragon in the movie because of course it's a cartoon. It's got to be over the top. So and it was a musical, which was kind of interesting. I mean, The Loud House, like, it isn't. I guess it's not the worst Nicktoon to make a musical movie out of. So it was an interesting film. As a Loud House fan, I don't know if I'd call myself a fan, but as someone who likes the show, I did like it. I thought it was likable and cute. So in 30th place is Playing with Fire. This movie is basically a throwback. Like, it very much feels like a 90s or mid 2000s kids movie. But that kind of makes it a bit appealing because it works well for Nickelodeon. Like this very much feels like a sitcom. Like I say, like I say that about a bunch of live action Nickelodeon movies, how they just feel like extended sitcom episodes. This really does feel like one of that. But I think part of the reason why this movie is works compared to other tough guy babysitting movies is that John Cena fits this kind of role. Like in other movies, like I don't know, what I mean, The Rock did that game plan, which I thought that one was kind of cute. Um, there's that Cop and a Half with Burt Reynolds. There's that Mr. Nanny with Hulk Hogan. What's that one with Vin Diesel called again? The babysitter. No, the pacifier. That's what it's called. Like a lot of times, those movies really don't work because you know the gig gets kind of old. Like the whole joke is that oh haha, it's a tough action movie star and they're doing a movie where they play with kids. Like I I should have worded that better. Sorry. Where they babysit kids and 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 like it the joke really works then. But I think this movie works is because John Cena is the kind of guy who works with this kind of stuff. Like he's really exposed with comedies. Like he's been in like Blockers and Trainwreck and Daddy's Home and that kind of stuff. So comedy isn't really new to John Cena. So I think he really fits into a kids comedy like a glove. Like he really does fit the tough guy babysitting movie because lots of his comedy delivery actually does work. Keegan Michael Key even looked like he looked like he was having a blast with this movie. Like there's lots of moments where you could tell he was having fun, and I think he did really steal the show in a lot of ways. John Leguizamo is in it, and you know he doesn't really do much, but John Leguizamo is always good to see. And yeah, there is some stupid humor, but like I said, it's a kids comedy. Of course, it's gonna have poop humor, but and the movie did at least try to be interesting compared to other babysitting movies where it's just a family babysitting. This one, it's about firefighters, or technically they were smoke jumpers, but so you get a lot of zany comedy with like kids like playing with hoses or flare guns and such. So it's got a bit of like goofy zany humor. So they really did try to make it feel unique. So I do give it a pass for that. So like Playing with Fire, it's an okay film. Like it's good if you have kids and they just want to see, a bunch of tough firefighters just acting goofy. Like it's a okay film. Like there's really nothing in it for adults aside from the fact that maybe they'll appreciate that the cast really works well with each other and John Cena does fit this type of movie. But yeah, it's fine. Like it's okay. Next movie is considered one of Eddie Murphy's worst movies. Imagine that. And I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, I'm actually not serious. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. This movie actually isn't bad. It's not great, but it's kind of cute. The whole movie is where Eddie Murphy is this workaholic businessman because you always got to have that in a live action kids movie, don't you? And he tries to reconnect with his daughter because he realizes that lots of the scribbles she's been doing on his worksheets are helpful because they predict the future about relationships. It's a silly idea, I know, but beneath the silly idea, it has some heart to it. Like it does have some stupid scenes, I'll admit. Like there's lots of scenes Eddie Murphy like he's trying to get a blanket and like yeah, he does look like an idiot, but Eddie Murphy is used to kinds like when I said about Playing with Fire about how those tough guy babysitting movies like Eddie Murphy is used to comedies, so he's used to acting like a goofball. Like he's not even a stranger to this for kids movies either. Like he did Daddy Daycare and such. So, like, this was around that time Eddie Murphy was doing more kids' movies, and this is one of his better later movies. Like, it's not funny exactly for Eddie Murphy standards, but it's cute and its heart is in the right place. So, yeah, imagine that. Like, it's a silly, ridiculous film, and extremely odd, but its heart's in the right place. So yeah, imagine that. It's a cute movie. Like I wouldn't recommend it to like every family in the world, but like for a one-time watch, it's actually not too bad. And next place is Hotel for Dogs. A pretty cute movie. I This was around the time, like I don't know if they still do, but when I was growing up in the 2000s, there were a lot of dog movies. Like so many dog movies. Like not just in theaters, but like even direct to DVD. There was a dog movie, dog movie, dog movie, dog movie. This kind of came out around the time where dog movies were at their top game, and it's a cute film. As someone who I did like this movie as a kid because I loved dogs as a kid, and I still love them. But it was a fun concept for a movie. A bunch of two foster kids try to start a hotel for dogs because dogs aren't allowed in their foster homes. So you do get some kind of goofy slapstick. Like there's a lot of visual jokes about like how the dogs live in the hotel, like how they serve like their puppy chow, or they had to grab tennis balls. Like it's cute. Like there's some creative concepts in the movie. Like it tries to be like a Nickelodeon sitcom, but at the same time a bit of a sorry, I need to charge this. A bit like a live action cartoon in a way. So you do get a lot of visual jokes, how like you see a dog doing something silly or something, and you do get a lot of different dog breeds. So if you definitely like dogs, you're definitely gonna find this cute. Like it's a cute film, and I do like it. In 27th place is a movie that was not a hit with everybody. Like it wasn't a hit with it wasn't a critical hit, wasn't a financial hit, wasn't an audience hit, or even a hit with Nickelodeon fans. Fun Size. I know I was pretty harsh in my review of this movie that I did many, many years ago. And like I said, part of the reason I wanted to do this ranking is to give updated thoughts. But you know what? I like Fun Size. I don't care what I don't care what any Nickelodeon fan says. I think Fun Size is a good movie. It's actually quite funny. I know lots of people hate it just because it's too edgy for a Nickelodeon movie, and I guess for Nickelodeon standards it's edgy, but for teen movie standards it's pretty tame. And other than the fact that it feels different from other Nickelodeon movies. Is there really anything wrong with this movie? Because I don't think so. I think it's funny. It's over the top. It's nice to see a Halloween themed movie because you don't get much of those unless it's a horror film. So it was good. Like I actually thought it was cute. It kind of felt like an 80s teen movie in a bit. In some ways, it kind of felt like Adventures in Babysitting because, a girl tries to look after a kid and then a bunch of hijinks ensue. And I think it's fun. Yeah, I actually think it's a good movie. It's it's nothing amazing, like it's no classic, but I genuinely think it's good. Like I think it deserves more recognition. I think it deserves a second chance by everybody. I mean, if you don't like it, that's fine. I just don't really get the hate because other than the fact that it doesn't feel like a Nickelodeon movie, I don't think there's really a big problem with it. I think it's funny and over the top. It's just it's a good Halloween movie if you don't want to watch something scary. So, yeah, Fun Size, I think it's pretty underrated, and I think it deserves a second chance by a lot of people. So, I think it deserves more recognition. I mean, Halloween's over, but if you want to watch something on Halloween next year, I'd recommend this. So, yeah, Fun Size, it's one of Nickelodeon's most underrated films in my opinion. So, I quite liked it. And next place is Wonder Park. Hey, remember when Nickelodeon tried to make this a franchise but failed miserably? Yeah, we all do. Okay. Even though this movie really bombed and it tried to launch a TV show and failed at it, the movie was pretty good. it's it's good. Like I know lots of people say that it had a really inconsistent tone, and I guess to be fair, I can kind of understand why. I mean, for a Nickelodeon animated comedy, this movie was pretty melancholy. I mean, but I actually do kind of like it for that because it subverts expectations. Although sometimes the messages are a little mixed. Like the whole thing is the main girl, what's her name, June. Like she builds an imaginary theme park, like a whole model with her mother, and her mother is ill. Yeah, they never specify. That's one of the biggest problems with this movie. One of the huge arcs of the story is that June's mom is sick, but they never specify. Like, I guess it's supposed to be like a metaphor for cancer, but they just say she's ill. That's really it. Because for a movie trying to show strong emotions, it really downplays it to kids like they're idiots. Like, I really think it really failed in that aspect, and sometimes the message didn't really come across as that good because when June actually gets to the Wonder Park because she realizes it's real, lots of the characters get upset at her because a bunch of darkness is coming to the park, and all because she was depressed. And I mean, yeah, I get the message is that kind of if you if you're feeling super depressed, that doesn't mean you should give up on everything. But at the same time, the movie really should have been more made the characters more understanding of June. I mean, her mom is super ill and she could possibly die. Of course she's going to be depressed, but it has a good voice cast. Most of them came from lots of side characters and lots of the talking animals. Like Matthew Broderick and Jennifer Garner played June's parents. John Oliver plays a porcupine. Mila Kunis plays a pig. Um, Ken Jeong and Kenan Thompson play two beavers, and like it has a good cast, and the animation is really good. I think in terms of their computer animated movies, I think this is one of Nickelodeon's best computer animated movies in terms of the technology. Like the colors are vibrant, the textures are great. Like they've really amped up since Jimmy Neutron. So I really liked how it looked. I doubt the failed TV show would have had as good animation, but Wonder Park, yeah, it's a good movie, and though in some ways it does get across a lot of confused messages, and some aspects could have been portrayed better. But overall, the movie had good intentions and it had some unique concepts. And I do give them Nickelodeon credit. They tried to make a movie that wasn't based on one of their shows. They tried to make an all new, fresh thing. So I do give it credit for that. So Wonder Park's not a great movie. It's not an animated classic, but I liked it enough, and it did have enough in it for me to say it was pretty good. Next is Yours, Mine, and Ours in 25th place. And yeah, I'm aware this is a remake of an old movie with Lucille Ball and whoever the guy was, and this one was with Dennis Quaid and Rene Russo, and the movie's good. I actually thought it was pretty fun. It's very much what you'd expect from a Nickelodeon movie. It's very over the top. Like, I think this was kind of Nickelodeon's predecessor to The Loud House, given it's a movie about a family with a whole bunch of kids, and the movie, it's fun. Like you get a lot of funny ideas about how there's a man with 8 kids, a woman with 10 kids, and of course they don't get along, and you see a lot of siblings fight because that's kind of the thing with kids movies and family sitcoms, or kids sitcoms rather. And like the siblings always fight, even heck, even before the families bond together, even before they're blended, they actually never get along. So it kind of shows that nobody's safe. Everybody turns against each other, and yeah, the ending I do think kind of funny. It's kind of like Wonder Park. The message was really confused. Like at the end, like the whole plot of the movie is that the kids hate having to share rooms and a house and having to live with each other. So they plan to get their parents to split up. And spoiler alert, Frank and Helen do split up, and then all of a sudden the kids get depressed and say, I didn't mean for it to be like this. What do you mean? You spent the whole movie saying you want their parents to split up, and when they split up, you're thinking, I didn't know they'd be sad. Okay, I'm not going to pretend like all breakups are depressing, but if a married couple's going to split up, of course they're not going to be happy. Like, what do you expect? Like, idiots? And some of the slapstick, it's kind of dull. Like, most of the time they just fall down, get covered in pain and that kind of stuff. It's not very funny, really. It's more so just dull. Like, they just move in exaggerated ways. Like, this, maybe if this was an animated movie, this could have worked more, but all in all, it was a cute movie nonetheless. I thought it was a lot of fun and very Nickelodeon-esque, and I don't think it was as bad as people said it was. I think it was an actually pretty good movie. And coming at 24th place, Barnyard. Yeah, one of their probably more well-known animated movies. And yes, I know this did become a show later, and I never really cared much for the TV show. I never really found it that entertaining, but this movie is pretty good. I think it's good. The animation is it's not the best, but for mid 2000s Nickelodeon standards, it's pretty good. Like for a movie that came out in 2006, like this is probably as good as we could have gotten from Nickelodeon. Like it's very Jimmy Neutron-esque, and yeah, one of the people who worked on Jimmy Neutron directed and wrote this movie, so that kind of explains why it has a similar kind of feel to it. And the movie has heart, surprisingly. Like, even though the movie's pretty much a Lion King ripoff, like, nobody really acknowledges this, but this movie pretty much has the same plot as The Lion King. A cow tries to take goofs around and is irresponsible, and his father disapproves, and then one day his father dies, and he has to become leader now, and then he starts to learn about his responsibilities. It's just The Lion King with farm animals, but it's good in that way. It actually does lead to some pretty good drama. There's a villain who's a coyote that's played by David Koechner, and he's a cool villain. Like he's not in the movie that much, but it kind of does show that Otis, the main cow, he really does have an arc to him. Like first he starts off as like a goofy, wisecracking party animal cow, and then all of a sudden he actually decides to be a leader. Like in the climax, he really wants to protect his friends, and he actually can try to be intimidating when he wants to, because he wants to be more like his father. So, and lots of the jokes, they're hit and miss. Like sometimes there's a good visual joke. Like sometimes the animals can do something a little funny. Although I think the biggest problem with the comedy is that, well, I mean, I do give it credit. There was no fart jokes in this. There was like one toilet joke, and no, there was a poo joke. I'm sorry.